Hi everyone, Ashley here. Today we're going to talk about prop hacks, or ways you can create yoga props with things you have at home so you can more easily practice restorative yoga. So let's get started with a bolster. So in restorative yoga, a lot of times, especially in the style I teach, which is Judith Lassiter's style basically, you build a ramp with a bolster a lot. It looks like this. A classic way to do it is with 2 yoga blocks or 3 plus your bolster at an angle. So what if you don't have a bolster? How should we get this effect? There's a few things you can do depending on what you have at home. So let's say you have a yoga mat. That's one thing you can start with, is a rolled up yoga mat, and then ideally a yoga blanket if you have one. If not, you can use a different kind of blanket. Create a long rectangle with your blanket, put your yoga mat rolled up inside and roll. And this is going to create, the good thing about it is it's really firm, like a yoga bolster is firm. So for instance, move this out of the way. It would really maintain this shape, right? And then if you have an extra blanket, you can always do an extra blanket on top to make it a little thicker and a little softer for when you lay on that. Okay, and if you only have one yoga mat and you're thinking, but I need to be on my yoga mat, for restorative yoga, you're not standing and gripping with your feet like you are in active asana. So you actually could just be on a blanket of any kind, or if you have carpet, just carpet even with maybe a towel on it. So you really can just use your yoga mat as your bolster if you have to. So that's the first option. If you have plenty of yoga blankets but no bolsters, another option is to start from your rectangle, make a roll, and then do basically the same thing. Take another blanket and inside. And this is going to end up pretty firm also. You can try this with other kinds of blankets if they have some firmness to them. So if you don't have a yoga mat or yoga blankets to use to create your bolster, you can use any other kind of blanket. So here I have something I made out of basically the least ideal type of blanket, but it still works. So this is a really fuzzy, soft blanket, which is not, it's obviously very different than a yoga blanket, but it can still work. So I just folded and rolled until I got to approximately a bolster shape. And then I used ribbons to tie it, just to keep it in place somewhat. You could use string, you could use a belt, you could use anything to tie it off that you have. And then if you have any kind of thin blanket, you could wrap it one more layer just to try to keep it in place a little bit more. So that's going to give it a little more shape. But even if you don't have that, this can still work. So you would just build up your ramp with this, and it's a little bit softer than the yoga bolster, but it will still work for our purposes. So those are all the ways you could try to make a bolster. You can look around your house as well and think about if you have any kind of like tube shaped things that you could wrap in a blanket to create a bolster. You can get creative with it. So next, let's talk about blocks. Luckily, blocks are a very similar shape to books, which most people have plenty of around. So in restorative, when you're building your ramp, you can just choose the amount of books that you want to create the height. We're usually looking for about 45-degree angle with our bolster ramp. So you could just find the books that you need, build them up, create your ramp, place your bolster on it, and it'll be just the same. The other reason we use books often is in Supta Baddha Konasana, where we have our feet together, knees apart, to support the knees. So books work great there too. Next, let's talk about the different ways we use blankets. So maybe you only have one yoga blanket, or maybe you don't have any, and you're trying to figure out how you can do these things. One way we use the blanket a lot is in this kind of a shape. So from a rectangle rolled to just a tube. Sometimes we put this kind of thing under the knees or under the ankles. This could be a foam roller. This could be your yoga mat rolled up for under the knees if you're not using it as your bolster. It could be a different kind of blanket. It could even be a few bath towels rolled up. Maybe one bath towel folded and rolled. That would definitely be enough for ankle support most of the time, just one. But if this is all you have, maybe another rolled around it if you wanted for under the knees, just a little bit more support. Another way we use our blankets is the long roll, which is when we take it from, let's see, the long rectangle and roll from the side, the long side. And when we do this, we get what I call the snake roll, just to differentiate it. It's a little longer. We use this in Supta Baddha Konasana over the feet tucked under to keep everything in place. This could definitely be a towel. So the long towel would just be undo the towel all the way, fold and roll. It's a little bit of a messy roll, but it does the job of keeping the feet in place and tucking. So that's a great use of it. So this is the kind of fold we do for the head and neck support in a lot of the poses. This is what it ends up looking like. It starts with regular rectangle blanket. Keep the fringes, or in this case the black side, to one side and fold in a half or so. Your shoulders lay here, your neck lays here. When you come down, you tuck in the sides, which is how it ends up looking like this. So how do we do this if we don't have a nice yoga blanket? It's hard to approximate this exactly with a towel, I will be honest, but you can do something that will get the same effect. So the effect we're looking for is support for the C7 vertebrae. So with this is just a bath towel folded into a square, and then I would just do one more little lip. So it's smaller, but it's, if you lay the shoulders here and this is supporting the C7 in the neck, it's gonna still create that same effect of comfort and support on the neck. So that would be a way to use the towel for the head support. And that pretty much covers it for blanket use. The other thing another thing we do with blankets is cover ourselves. So that is a great time to use any kind of blanket, obviously. Even a weighted blanket, if you have one, that can be really nice. Our final prop I want to talk about is something to cover your eyes. Now, during this time of the coronavirus, it's important not to cover your eyes if you're still going out and interacting with other people, where you could be talking to someone who's hasn't gotten symptoms yet but could be carrying the virus. Then I would say if you're going out a lot, don't cover your eyes right now. And it's a good reminder to always be careful with the things we bring to our face, even after this time of corona. So I use this thing, which is like to cover your ears, just because it's easy to wash. And so you can also use just like a hand towel or anything. So really anything, like a kitchen towel folded and just placed over the eyes can be nice. We are looking always in restorative yoga for dark, quiet, still, and warm. So you can continue thinking about those 4 things. So even if you're not covering your eyes, if you just dim the lights in the room or turn them off, that will give you the feeling of dark. So I think that covers it for your prop hacks. If you're ever watching one of my practice videos and you see me using the regular yoga props and you don't know what to use to replace it, you can just feel free to drop a comment and I will address that. And otherwise, enjoy. Thank you.